All men have to be breadwinners.
Okay.
That you can hear that as a cultural meme. That is the way we grow up to be.
Right, because it was that way because women
Yes.
were not allowed to go to work, and they were not being hired either.
Okay. And there have been women who've made money other ways than going to work. I mean, jobs are a new thing, actually.
It's a new thing for women. Yeah.
But it's a new thing for the
For a generation.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, what I'm saying is there once was a time, there's longer times when there have been no jobs than there are times when their jobs showed up on the horizon.
Yeah.
People used to do things entrepreneurially.
Oh, I
used
see what
to
you're saying.
You
Right,
understand?
right.
So this whole thing about going for a job is in a way that we've been educated that that's the way we got to do it. It is possible, and we've worked with some people down in Charlotte in an entrepreneurial program called Startup Labs, in which we've seen that what brothers are doing on the street, mostly illegally, they've actually developed the skills to run a legal corporation.
Yeah.
But they haven't had the training to say, let's say, create a business plan.
Yeah.
So it's possible that we can take this ingenuity and this initiative and hone it in such a way that it becomes an entrepreneurial venture that's legal.
Right.
People can learn that rather than feeling like, oh crap, I don't have a job, there are no jobs available, they're doing it to me again, the system isn't working, all of that victimized conversation.
So applying this to being a good dad, if you find yourself in a situation where you can't find a job that fits your I don't know, your desire, your likes, if you can't find that job, but you happen to be good at something off the books, then you can say, if you have the knowledge, if you realize, wait a minute, I don't have to work for corporate America. You can teach your child this, and you can say, hey, these are some of the things that I'm doing to bring money home, right? You can bring your child into your entrepreneur.
Yes.
Or the
we're
entrepreneur
talking
in you.
legal. We're talking. I want to be clear. I'm talking entrepreneurial. What you're doing on the street, you can take it and do it out in the open as an entrepreneur, moving in that direction. I think, Ricardo, that it's impossible to teach your children something that you're not yourself doing.
Uh-huh.
Okay, because we are the mirrors for them to see what's possible. And that's, for as far as I'm concerned, people are the possibility of all possibilities. So there's nothing we can't do if we can say this, we can see it, we can vision it, it is possible to bring it into view. We have to give up a few things, like I have to do it by myself. Okay, that usually has to be given up so that other people can come into your network to support you to get there. So partnership development is important, those kind of skills, but those kind of skills are the kind of skills that people on the street understand.
Right.
You got to have partners.
Yeah.
You got to trust people.
Yeah.
And so it's
Yeah.
So being a good dad has a lot to do with bringing forth your creativity and not settling for the so-called image of what it is to be a good dad.
Yeah, yeah.
9 to 5 job. I mean, my father worked 3 jobs. I hardly ever saw him.
You hardly saw him, right? Yeah, I mean, that's the way it was. What are you going to do? I mean, he had to make the money. Somebody had to make money to pay the bills.
But he was stuck in that paradigm
yeah.
that this is the way you do it.
This is the way you have to do it, yeah. That's difficult. I mean, I'm really glad that you bring it up because I personally find myself in this exact situation, I feel like I've been in corporate America for so many years, but all I've done is it's try to think of how do I get out of it? It doesn't fit. When I put it on, every single time I put it on, it doesn't fit. On the one hand, it's been good. I'm glad that I've done it. And I think that I can definitely convey a lot of these ideas to my children. I don't think that I will never tell my child that they absolutely have to go to work in any one particular space. I mean, I am clear on in looking for those things that they're brilliant in. I'm clear about that, and say Joaquin or Lucas, those are their names. I say do that because there's this term I love. It's genius through passion. Mm-hmm. I realize that I think that it is clear today that Albert Einstein, as one example, was considered smarter than most. I don't know. I mean, like if you were to look at IQ, but I think that he was brilliant. He was a genius because he was so passionate about what he was doing. And I think that's a little bit of what you're saying. If you're on the street and you're doing something that you're passionate about, can you find a way to make it into, speaking of illegal, right? Making it into something legal that you're very passionate about. Are you going to have to pay taxes? Well, yeah, but on the other hand, you're not going to jail.
Right. The jeopardy distance
You're-
lowers,
you're-
yeah.
And you're jeopardizing that responsibility, which
But you got to, Einstein didn't start out as a physicist. I think he was an accountant.
No, yeah,
He was
I
doing,
know that.
he was doing the physics thing on the side. That was his passion.
Right.
And it grew
Right.
into it, you
Right.
know, that's important. That people, so I could say, have I done work that I didn't like? No, I would say every
No.
job I've had, I've enjoyed doing it. Now that's hard for most people to say, but there's a price. And it is, how much stuff did I need? And there was, for me, a giving up of needing a whole lot of stuff.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
Cars,
yeah. You have to give up. You have to give that up.
clothes, bunch of stuff that I said at a certain point in my life, you know, I don't need this.
I mean, but it must be a blessing because I've been on the other side of this, which is I've done tons of jobs that I haven't cared for just so that I can keep the financial thing up. But as I get older, I realize, wow, you know, what tons of wasted time. Yeah. I wish I had just followed passions. I have this idea. You know, my kids are 6 and 7, right? And I want them when they go into their teens, to work for, I don't know, for businesses around the neighborhood, and not get paid.
Okay.
Because I want them to work and learn and not worry, and I want to have the money to be able to say to them, look, what is it that you want this summer, right? I'll give you that. Just work there. If you have to be on the books for $1, just so that you're on the books because for legal issues, that's fine. But don't worry about the money because it's not about that at all. Yeah. You know, and going back to, you know, you guys started with this, but this is a great conversation for so many of us dads. You know, we're thinking about, well, we want our kid, the whole idea of having to compulsory college.
Compulsory school. I'm just glad you, I mean, but that's it. When kids dropping out of school, we say in Youth at Risk, how come, you know, when you look at a school and all the kids were not going to school, if it was a business and all these people didn't come to business, you would say these people are on strike. You would say they're striking against the company. But the way it's set up, the school says, you know, something's wrong with these kids.
Yeah.
And the kids are saying, no, something's wrong with the way the school thing is put together.
Yeah.
And when you look at it, I'd say that the passion you're talking about, kids automatically bring it.
Yeah.
But going to school, it gets educated out of them.
Pretty much.
So after a point, you show up in what Paulo Freire calls, you know, the banking system.
Yeah.
Where you show up supposedly empty-headed now, and the school has to put something in there so that you can have something to work with.
Yeah.
And that's not the natural way it works. We come with something.
It seems like for 100 years we've been killing, you know, the fun out of education. We've been destroying. Yeah.
So there's a sense that when kids drop out, perhaps they are the sane ones. They're saying, I had enough of this.
Yeah.
But there's no support for them to use their creativity and entrepreneurship to create something that's going to sustain them.
Right.
I mean, birds don't have to go to school to eat, do they? Yeah. They always find a worm. I mean, how come we're so different? Yeah. How come we see ourselves as so different from everything else on the planet?
Well, and so of course, and before we go too deep into this, which is a fascinating conversation, I want to say that I do believe in education. What I believe in also is that you should only go to school if you have some idea of what you want to learn. You know, and speaking of college, right? After high school. I mean, I also believe that we have to modify the educational system all the way up to high school. But afterwards, I think that people should only, and especially if they have to borrow money, they really should only go once they're ready.
Man,
I know, right? I mean,
you know, come on, you know, college is a business.
It's a business.
How come you can go to college and get all the scholarship and all this loan money, and when you finish college, you owe $40,000, $60,000, $80,000, which is going to take you another 10 years to pay off. Yeah. It's crazy.
They lend you the money, and they also don't guarantee the job.
No job. That's what I'm saying. And then the whole job paradigm shows up that you ought to have a job to be successful based on the education you.
So now I have to know what you taught your children about education growing up. I need to hear what somebody like you said.
Listen, I take my youngest son. All right, He went to private schools. First of all, at the National Black Theater, we had what I would call probably the first on-site daycare center way back in the 70s for our kids.
Yeah.
Okay, school was on-site where we were rehearsing and doing our theater thing. Up until the 3rd grade, because we didn't have any licensing to do. Then he got into a private school, scholarship and all of that, and pretty much went through all of that. He got a full 4-year scholarship. He was there for a semester in this, I think it was Middlebury College up in Vermont. And he was highly touted, welcomed. He spent his time in the computer lab.
Okay.
He hardly went to class. At the end of the semester, they said, well, he's not going to class. And he said, Dad, I know more about computers than anybody on this campus. I'm running the computer lab.
All right.
I said, but you got to, in order to keep your scholarship, you got to do the work. He said, okay. Next semester, where was he? He didn't go to class. He stayed in the computer lab. That was his passion. Next thing I knew, he quit. He quit he quit school with 4 years of scholarship in front of him. He quit. And he said, I'm done. These people can't teach me anything. I got this idea. I want to try it out. He came home. He tried it out. It didn't work. He's trained. But he went into his own entrepreneurship thing. He started website design, coding, and all of that.
So it's a happy today?
He's got 2 children, my 2 grandchildren, and he's happy out in California.
So he's in computers now?
Yeah, didn't get a degree. You know, you look at how many people are millionaires who don't have degrees.
Oh, yeah, no, of course.
So it says something about the ingenuity and the passion and the creativity.
How difficult?
Is there fertile ground for that to show up? I would say if there's anything that I gave him was the fertile ground for that kind of creativity and entrepreneurship. And I mean, I had a house that he could always fall back into, you know.
So, that's part of being a good father, that support, okay. So, well, I did. That's it. It looks like we can talk for a few days straight, but we've come to the end of the show.
Yeah, it's a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah.
It was a heated conversation, and there's so many more questions I have to ask you about.
It's been a beautiful ride. It's just been a beautiful ride, it really has.
All right, well, that's it. That's it for us today. Thank you so much for being here, for listening. If you are 16 to 24 years of age and you would like to have a conversation with me here in studio, please write me an email. That's it. Be on the lookout for the next conversations, and thank you.